Welcome everybody to another Aztecs episode, Aztecs football episode of the Sons of Montezuma podcast. Well, we're not going bowling, James. 41-20, UNLV takes down the Aztecs. And boy, they are still searching. We're about to talk about it all. Join us next.
From 29 yards.
Yeah, Williams is the part of that running game that makes it
different. UNLV will win its 8th. The word of the day, the week, the program for UNLV finish. 8-2, 4-1 in Mountain West Conference play. The chances of a Mountain West Conference.
What's going on, everybody? This is the Sons of Montezuma podcast. It is a new episode here on, a Wednesday night. Took us a couple days to get to football action. Of course, we all know that the Aztecs basketball team had a game first thing Monday night. They took a loss to Gonzaga. So we were out in Vegas for the game against UNLV, and with all the travel and everything, took us a day to get our bearings back, and boy, I'm still beat up from Las Vegas, man. It took a lot out of me. I can't imagine the team, but we want to thank you guys for joining. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. First and foremost, does not cost you a penny. Sons of Montezuma podcast, all San Diego State sports talk, the originators here on YouTube. And of course, my name is Mateo. You can find me at Mateo San Diego. On X, Twitter, Instagram, you can find Sons of Montezuma. Facebook. Oh boy, he's no longer on X. You're gonna have to figure out how to find this guy. It's James. James. How are people gonna harass you online these days, dude? Is it just Instagram?
Yeah, pretty much, man. Just Instagram. Yeah, I've been kind of laying off social media for the most part, completely. But yeah, I got tired of dealing with the X stuff and said, "I'll forget it." Smart man. I get it. It's a lot. And in seasons like this, dude, it gets to be a grind, man. Constantly chirping from, if it's not opposing fans, our own fan base, right? Yeah. What are we at now? 3-7? 3-7, if I'm not correct. Yes, I believe so. Oh. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. I don't think anybody was surprised by what happened Saturday. It was just disappointing that the offense didn't get it together again. They show glimpses every now and then, but they still haven't put together like a full game all season. So hopefully they got 2 games left to try to do it, right? 7, yeah. So 2 games left to try to put together a full game on offense. Hopefully they can get it done. Yeah, and I mean, we're going to talk about all that. I'm kind of glad we took a couple days to attack this game. Like you said, I don't think anybody was expecting an upset, just to be honest. I mean, we knew this team had the capability. I think at the beginning of the year, you circled UNLV and you kind of said, okay, that's going to be a tough one on the road, knowing that they were just in the Mountain West Championship game last year against Boise. You saw how they played against Boise this year. They had a chance to beat them. So you knew when we got our opportunity, the way the season was going, it's like, okay, maybe we could have beat them, hopefully thinking at the beginning of the year, but when you saw it there in person, they're so far advanced right now in their process, in their offense and their defense. I mean, they've got it rolling out there. But we had a great time, of course, out there in Vegas. That's a road trip you always want to make. But is it really? Do we want to see a complete game? I don't know if this one was it, that we would expect to see it. I don't know if these final 2 games, is that the expectation? We'll get into all that, but let's talk about this game a little bit. Like I said, 41-20, James. And I mean, right off the bat, we actually stopped them on the goal line. That was kind of a nice momentum play for the defense, right? You kind of bend, but you don't break. But like you said, the offense couldn't get going. Next thing you know, first quarter, it's 14-0. and we had our chances, but I think they went up 21-0, and then we had our chance to finally score and get on the board. My question was going for two after that first score. It's kind of a head scratcher.
That was weird. Yeah, I didn't agree with that call at all. But I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of a weird situation to go for two. I was, going into the game, I was worried they were just going to pound the ball right down our throats and bust off a bunch of big runs. So that was like a pleasant surprise. They didn't really do that all that well. The quarterback killed us in the running game. And we knew that was a possibility because he's a really talented quarterback, excuse me, as far as running the ball. And he's got a good arm. He's accuracy is his issue, but he's pretty accurate against our defense. So I was pleasantly surprised with the way the defense stiffened up in the run game a little bit, because that's kind of been an issue all year. And they showed it a little bit against Boise too, until they just kind of got worn out. So I think that's like a positive sign you can take away from the game. But yeah, just the offense is still continuing to be an issue. It's been an issue here for, a decade, it almost seems like. But we were hoping we'd see some positive momentum on that side of the ball this season. And I don't think we've seen it. It hasn't been you don't expect a continual grade up, but there's kind of been like up, down. In one game, it's kind of been up, down. It hasn't even been, like I said earlier, they haven't put a whole game together on offense yet, as far as I'm concerned.
So let's break this down. How can we communicate clearly on this game, right? Because there's a lot that's going on in this game. Like you're saying, everything was just inconsistent. Okay, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Three ways you can kind of break it down. The good, okay, Marquez Cooper, right? He got past the 1,000-yard mark in this game. The first player in FBS, first player, not just running back, to be a 1,000-yard rusher for three different teams. So he did it at Kent State, did it at Ball State, and then also now here at San Diego State. So, okay, that's good. That's cool. He was just a little under the 100-yard mark for the game. Jashawn Polk, 3 catches, 79 yards. He got his first touchdown on the season, which was a bomb from Danny O'Neal. Danny was able to connect on a couple of those dimes throughout the game. Also in the good, I'm gonna say Eric Butler, 8 tackles. Of course, he's on our NIL team. Got a shout out Eric Butler, 8 tackles, 1.5 for tackles for loss, and then he did force that fumble where UNLV was about to score on the goal line, punched the ball out, and we returned it all the way down into their territory, and so that was a bright spot. And of course, the special teams, our punter Tyler Pastula. Hey man, we got a chance to talk with his dad. Of course, a lot of the parents were, shout out to the parents, man. We were pre-gaming down there in Vegas at the Whiskey right across the street from the stadium, and just had a great time with a lot of the parents, a lot of the fans gathering there. It's just a great spot to go pre-gaming wise. And, it's been a rough year, man, but credit to the families for supporting not only the team, but, we appreciate the support they give us, man. And just being able to make the most out of each and every game, traveling, all that good stuff. And Tyler, man, he's averaging over 58 punts in this one. He had a lot of opportunities, that's for sure, 5 punts. So the bad, 2 interceptions in this game. They weren't good ones. And Danny was being harassed, man. I mean, he didn't get a lot of time when he was trying to drop back and pass. I think we were tackled 7 or 8 times behind the backfield, whether it's runs or Danny and whatnot. So there's a lot of bad. I mean, penalties, miscues, third down percentage was really bad. I don't want to harp on this too much, but these are things that we haven't seen regardless of the opponent. There's still a lot of things that aren't getting corrected. So these last 2 games are going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I guess the only bright side of being so injury laden on the offensive line is a lot of not young guys necessarily, but guys with eligibility remaining are getting good playing time. So hopefully that'll be a good sign for going into next year. The seniors we lose, they'll be replaced by guys that have playing time and that have actually played in meaningful games. So I think that's maybe the only thing you can kind of look at it if you want to look at a brighter side of the recent struggles on the offensive line I think it's mostly due to injuries. That's one thing you can kind of take away to kind of give you a little silver lining on these dark clouds over the football program right now is a lot of young guys are getting playing time. So
Yeah. If there is a bright side in that, but oh man, I'm not counting that. I don't know if I'm putting that in my good and bad. I don't know if I'm putting that in the good, man. I got into it with Fiend last night over the Gonzaga loss. It's like, was that a good loss? It's like, no, there's no such thing as a good loss.
There's no such thing as a good loss, but there are losses that don't really hurt you. And that's that game against Gonzaga. That was a loss that didn't really hurt the team. And it'll give the team something to grow on because it's, again, on the basketball side, it's a young team as well. So I think there's not good losses per se, but there's losses that don't hurt you and can help you grow.
Yeah. There's opportunities. They're teaching opportunities. That's what Coach Dutch said. And it was funny because Mike, on the pod, talking about our basketball team, he was listing off all these things with all the youth and the injuries that the basketball team's going through. And, this is a great teaching moment. And I looked and I was just like, dude, are you talking about the football program right now? Like, it sounded exactly like this is a rebuild. We got so much youth, all the injuries. This is a great opportunity. This season is an opportunity. No, you're talking about the football team right now. That's exactly what you're talking about. Anyways, guys, we had a great time out there in Vegas pre-game, right? Pre-game.
Won the tailgate again.
Yeah, we'll always win the tailgate, man. Always win the tailgate. I mean, there are some out there that see the pregame videos and photos of us having a great time. You're in Vegas. We're going to have a great time pregame. So if you want to judge our images of the pregame and say, how are you guys having a good time? We lost. Give me a break. Anyways, let's get in a little bit of fun here on the Strip. Country Western bar. We're watching the Tyson debacle of a fight. And then everybody down there at the whiskey bar having a good time. Of course, walking over to Allegiant, and by the time the game got on, we were excited. I was excited to see what the atmosphere was going to be like the production and the performance and all that stuff, which was really good. And that stadium, boy, that's an NFL stadium right there. They're going to take advantage of it. They're never going to pack that thing out, a sellout.
It was still a pretty decent crowd, though.
Yeah. You get to do a lot of fun things with the lights and low production value. There's Danny sneaking the ball in for that score, so he did have 1 on the ground and 2 in the air, so that was good. But it was just one of those days. It was a long day. We kept calling the Rebels cheaters. Every penalty they got, we were yelling out cheaters. We were having a good time with the Rebel fans out there. They were good sports. They're not used to all this winning,
Yeah.
And then we had to take it back to Ellis Island for the karaoke and Alex taken to the stage, and he did a phenomenal job. So
he said that's not fair, man. He was yelling at the game the whole time, so his voice wasn't quite right. So he's disappointed you put that up there.
Hey, he was doing all the yelling at the cheaters. He's doing all the yelling at the cheaters. But you got to make the most out of your time out there in Vegas for the roadie. But I was happy to have Coach C out there in Vegas. As you guys know, Coach C, Aztec for life, he helps us out every once in a while, taking a look at the X's and O's and really what's going on the field. And he's out there in the Vegas area, so we had a chance to bring him in to Allegiant. He's no stranger to the Raider Nation. And so we're going to bring Coach C on into the show. Get ready, man. What's going on, Coach? How are you doing, dude? Good to see you. Popping that breath mint in there, please. I want to see
yeah.
see that breath over here in San Diego.
I'm addicted to these guys, man. I'm telling you. What's going on, James? Good to see you.
Good seeing you, Jody. How's it going, man?
Trying to still lick the wounds from a rough football weekend that's becoming a habit, as you guys can tell. Raider fan, so I got to take my wounds and slaps upside the head on Sundays, and then of course you hope like years past, the Aztecs have been the nice little comfort with all their winning the few years. And this year, of course, that hasn't been the case. So let's just say I got to ice up on Mondays after a bruising weekend of taking my lumps and whatever else. But I still represent both the black and silver, black and red, red and black, silver and black, you name it, and whatever else. So, but it was good to see you guys last weekend. Had a lot of fun outside of the game. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Joe, I'm sure you being out there in Vegas, you get to hear a lot more about the Rebels, the Renan Rebels, and how great of a season they're having. They are undoubtedly looking like they're going to have a rematch against Boise for that Mountain West Championship game, which would be a phenomenal game if they can make it happen. 515 total yards for the Rebels in this game, man. 253 on the ground. Their quarterback, he made a lot of it happen. He is their leading rusher, I believe. And when you have a lot of weapons like that, right, you think you're covering everybody, you're protecting all their weapons, and then he just slips out and makes the second and third guy miss. And he had a couple scores like that. Just a frustrating night for the Aztecs defensively, frustrating offensively. I mean, what did you notice from the team? I know we had a good seats right there behind the bench. We were cheering them on, but I know there were a couple things that, what do you see in this team at this point in the season? I know you're playing a good UNLV team, but, with the way things are going, what did you notice right off the bat, man?
Well, first of all, tip my hat off to UNLV. Living in Vegas, I'm no rebel. I'm an Aztec through and through, but they've been down for so long. And, and it's interesting for Aztec fans and whatever else. Yeah, we had a good run there, but, I'm sure you guys have mentioned just the offensive struggles have not been just this year. This has been something that's been, a headache, if you will. And UNLV went through a lot of years of just couldn't get nothing right. Just couldn't get nothing right. And all of a sudden in these last 2 years, you got some, not only do you have some nice players, but more the thing I was impressed with and I was watching, not that their plays were really fancy stuff. It's good execution. And the quarterback's eyes were always in the right place. The wideouts and the tight ends, based on the way linebackers reacted to any play fake, they knew exactly what spot to be. And you saw quick execution from their quarterback. And the ball's out. Once he pulled it back after the fake of the handoff, he's throwing it right away in the vacated area where the linebacker used to be. And there just seemed to be quick jabs at our defense that really made things look really good, smooth. And that's really what you want to see from an offense. That quarterback has not been the starting quarterback all year, yet he's dynamic. He's really dynamic, but he was making sure everybody was involved. And you like to think that the Aztecs, we can do that too. And I think a lot of it, everybody basically in college football is running that zone read stuff. Linebacker flows and he tries to scrape, then you pull the ball back and you try to hit it on the backside slant, backside hitch, whatever you have. What I noticed with our Aztec team being there at the game was my biggest concern was it just seemed like the energy wasn't right. And what I mean by energy, when you're going to have a drive, whatever that drive is, whether it finishes in the end zone or if it's 3 and out or anything in between, you definitely want to make sure you have communication coming off the sideline. You want to make sure that everybody's on the exact same page. And when you're a hurry-up type offense, a high tempo offense, the play caller is going to try to get the play out as fast as possible. And so there's really not a lot of rethinking of things. You're just trying to get to the next play, And if a drive has 8 plays in it, it has 3 plays in it, it has 15 plays in it, you really want to have some opportunity during the game time to kind of review what worked, what didn't work, why did it work, what seems to be something that we didn't expect that we had in our game plan. And you want to have those chances to review that, especially when you have a freshman quarterback who's trying to get this thing rolling mentally for himself. And it also gives the coach an opportunity to just kind of share what he sees on the football field. And you really want to hear from your players sometimes, of maybe what is their perspective? What are they seeing? Are they hearing the linebacker call out the play, as they're getting ready to snap at the ball? Did they really basically study you well enough? Is there a little wrinkle and a different look we can give them, that we didn't expect that they were going to be able to see, and they caught on to it. And so, Not that there wasn't any communication. It's just as a coach, those are the things that I was looking for sitting behind their sideline. Who's talking to who? Are the right people, getting the communication they need to? And are you seeing that on the next drive? And that seemed to be missing. And again, I couldn't see everything, but it's something that for a quarterback, all the quarterbacks, and for anybody involved in the offensive staff when it comes to the play calling, you have to make sure there's a review session that takes place after every drive. This is what I saw. This is what I like. This is what I'm thinking. What's your thoughts? What do you see? That way you're just constantly on the same page, which is offensive football in a nutshell. If you're not all on the same page, if one guy misses their assignment, it destroys the whole play. Offensive football is just so dependent on perfect unity on every play. And if you're not going to be, and we were explosive on some plays, that was good to see. But, you really want to see some 8 plays plus drives. You want to see a 12-play clean execution, because rhythm is very important in the offensive game. And you can't get rhythm unless everybody consistently is of the same mind, seeing the exact same thing that the sideline is seeing. And that's something I hope, and I'm sure they're going to be working on to get that improved. We didn't see it, happening as much as we would like to Saturday. But again, young team, communication issues, though, definitely need to improve.
Want to highlight what Justin says here in the chat. He says, I'll say it again, O-line, we need one next year. He says, UNLV is a good team. The Aztecs just played 3 top 25 teams in a row, and we competed in 1.5 of them. I don't know about that 1.5, but I got you. So even in a rebuild year, we do what we can. I think that's pretty important to keep in focus because you're talking about like extending the drives offensively, right? And against UNLV, it was just like every third down. You knew the third down was just not going to be converted most of the times, right? So, but we've seen them do it previous games, previous opponents, whether it's Hawaii or Wyoming. And you just have to, at this point, like what Justin says, it is what it is at this point. We are where we are at this point. You got different tiers in the Mountain West, or whether it's a Washington State who we played, Boise State, and now UNLV. They're more further along in their process, and that's kind of in my brain how I can, console myself with that thought.
Yeah, no, Justin's right. That O-line, and trust me, when I was coaching, we go on our recruiting trips. As the offensive coordinator, man, I would tell the whole offensive staff, the most important thing you can look at when you're on the road is offensive alignment. Because if you have an average quarterback, but you have a great O-line, you got a shot. You could have a great quarterback, but if you got your 5 guys up front that are just kind of really getting manhandled, they're not on the same page, there's a little bit of confusion going on, that quarterback's going to be running for his life, and he's not going to be able to run the offense like he needs to. He's got to have that engine in front of him that is hitting on all cylinders, and it starts at the O-line, absolutely. And I tell you what, when you have an O-line that is really on the same page and everybody's working as a unit, their assignment football is clean and all, it really feels like you're just riding a strong horse, because you just feel like, you can always be ahead of the chains, if you will. And that's the other thing, too, that San Diego State's got to really look at as the season's coming to an end in these last few games. Can we win that first down in a way that we're staying ahead of the chains? Can we put ourselves in positions on a consistent basis where that third down is something where, it's a manageable, it's not always 3rd and 8 plus, you want to be in that 3rd and 4. And there you can kind of dictate what defenses are going to do when you're in 3rd and 4. You can expect a cover 2 squatting type of defense where you might be able to take a poke up top and take advantages of defenses doing that. Whereas when it's always 3rd and 10, they can show a soft coverage like a cover 4, yet actually be in cover 2. But, when you really got to get guys to the sticks, receivers to the sticks, or at least close to it, and really rely on a run after catch deal, that can be kind of tough. It also is tough, too, because the defense can bring a pressure and purposely leave a guy wide open, knowing that that's based on film study. That's where the quarterback's going to go 9 times out of 10, so that they can go ahead and make the quick tackle. And on 3rd and 9, we picked up 6, but now it's 4th and 3, and we're deep in our territory and we're punting, and so you still get not a win there, if you will. So that situational football, how do we make it easy? For the O-line, it does start off with them and the quarterback. How do you make things easy for them? And that first interception that O'Neal had thrown in the first quarter, kind of a rookie mistake, freshman mistake. It happens a lot of times with a lot of young quarterbacks. It's a 3-step game. It's a quick game. They drop a D lineman into coverage, and the quarterback has to go ahead and change his eyes to the other side of the field. And a lot of times when it's quick game, those routes have already been indicated to the defense what they are. And so when the quarterback looks to one side and you see the slants or a quick short dig and it's covered because of a dropping D lineman, and now you have to replace your eyes to look at the other side of the field. And those routes are pretty much at the end of their route concept. And so now defenders have seen what's trying to be accomplished or whatever else. And now your quarterback's trying to make a play. And before you know it, because it's a quick game, ball should be out. It didn't go out as fast as possible. He gets hit. Looked like he was trying to throw it out of bounds, but instead he gets hit. Ball flutters 15 yards in the air. The receiver can't see where the ball's at, and it's just an easy, fair catch, literally, for the DB, And it just gave you that bad taste of, oh, man, after the defense had gotten a stop, and you're just kind of like, all right, can we make something positive out of this? And those are again, what I look for after a play like that. Where is the quarterback headed when he does go to the sideline? Who is he going to talk to? Is it something that he has to process what happened? Those are the moments where a coach has to, this is the coverage I see, and make it something that's a positive. Get him out of that negative thinking that, yeah, he just threw a pick. He's kind of, going to be upset. But, that's where you get your moments where you have to coach a kid up. I heard you guys talking earlier about how there's no such thing as a good loss. But, James brought up a big word, though. Yeah, but you can grow from losses, But that means you got to learn from it, though. If you're not learning, you're not growing. And so that has to happen. That cannot be something that you just wait. Well, Monday we'll talk about it, or Sunday during, when we review stuff, and Tuesday. It has to be on the sideline that there has to be a game plan involved where what are we learning about this last drive? What did we learn about this certain play? What coverage did you see, quarterback? Why were your eyes to the right side more to the left side? What is it you see? Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. I got to know what was it going on in that processor of yours and see if our processors were matching each other, and those are the things that you're looking for growth. That way you can compare now a first half to a second half, not to where the scoreboard is naturally, but at least did we communicate better in that game? As we got into the second half, did we find ourselves on the same page more? Did I see the quarterback adjusting pass coverages, making sure our 5 linemen are on the exact same page as he is, with audible calls or whatever, So those are the things that when you're struggling, communication has to be paramount. It has to be the most important thing that is running smoothly, because you can control that. That part you can control.
Let me ask you this as a coach, and I'm not gonna beat it on the head for too long, but I mean, this was an interesting situation with the new coach coming in, Coach Lewis, a new dynamic with the transfer portal and NIL, right? We're kind of in the Wild West years of this whole change in college football, to where, make no mistake, there are a lot of former players here, a lot of new NIL players here, new players with the coaching change. So this team is really assembled with a lot of different guys coming in different situations in their college career, right? And so, you're talking about being on the same page, X's and O's wise, from a coach's perspective, but equally, what's the perspective like from a coaching perspective when you got to be on the same page just as a team wise, emotional wise, attitude wise. I can imagine if you're not on the same page in that respect, the X's and O's, I mean, I can't imagine they're going to be tough. They may be out the window to concentrate, to focus on. How do you use that or to your advantage to kind of get the team showing that energy that I think we didn't necessarily see on Saturday?
Yeah, it's when you're having a rough season, rough game, rough season, whatever, having a rough practice. Boy, everybody has them. I don't care if you've got a 10-0 record, you're going to have some bad practice days where everybody, is lethargic or whatever else. Or you're going to have seasons where you're 2 and whatever. And then a lot of new faces, like you said. And when you have a lot of new faces, new coach, new players, NIL, that's going to be the same situation because of college football and where it's at nowadays, where you'll have some key positions that got new leaders, new players that are contributors. As a coach, you have to recognize, man, when things aren't going well, when we're not executing the way we need to, that makes communication way more important. And I keep bringing that up because it is that important. I've been through seasons where, you're 8-2, you're going to win the conference, you're headed to a bowl game, everything's looking good. And then I've had some seasons where, man, we're 1-7 or whatever else. And I remember during that time, I would have to tell my coaching staff, it is during those seasons that we have to be even more out there talking to parents, talking to players of all types, whether they be the starters or the guys that are just, are role players and all that. You do more communication then, because the last thing you need is an attitude issue where you're trying to get a guy to buy in, when it's hard to buy in, when everything you're telling seems not to be working at the time, but when you got a guy that says, no, coach, I'm still with you on that one. It's like, that's my fault. I saw it wrong or whatever, or I see it exactly how you see it. And you're always giving that opportunity for a coach to just let him know, hey, kid, I still believe in you. We're all right. This is where I am. Again, the communication of this is how I see things. Now, if it don't work, drop pass, overthrow, or a bad call on my part, right away, nip it in the bud. We're just saying, man, that's a bad call on my part. I got to be a better coach and put you in a better position. And most times, even if a kid hardly knows you, right away, the respect level of, wow, this guy's not trying to throw me under the bus. And those are the things I'm not seeing, which I was glad. I don't see pointing fingers on the sideline. Like I said, is there any communication? Because again, you can't allow, as a leader, whether you be a coach, whether you be a captain of the team, you cannot allow any type of cancer to creep in. And sometimes silence is a bad deal. Everybody feels bad when things aren't going good. Everybody.
Yeah.
And it can't be just I'm clapping and, hey, no, there has to be a clear communication with one another of, we want to get this fixed. This is how I think we can get it fixed. And it also gives a player a chance to say, coach, I think if we did this, give him a chance, hear him out, and when there's a good dialogue between one another, that buy-in from a team that's struggling, when the players feel like that they got some input, not that they have the answers, but as a coach, you have to make the assumption, man, everything we've tried just isn't producing, and I don't want to lose this kid because he still is one of us. I still need him to go. And so you really have to have a game plan for that. So really, the whole coaching staff meetings during the week, they got to be honest with themselves. How do we keep this group tight? Some of the seniors, I'm sure, are tired. They're ready to just move on from football. It's been a long season. They didn't picture their last season looking like this. And, but they don't want to let their teammates down. But you still need those guys. And so those are the coaches that have to just target those guys. Man, your leadership is more important than ever right now. And, for the rest of your life, you're not going to get this opportunity again. And so it ain't about the scoreboard right now. It's really about brotherhood. It's representing what you do, playing this game, which is fun. And the whole thing is about this next game, not what's just happened, But again, you have to have certain measuring sticks that you can see, did we communicate better? And, a lot of people that are listening is like, well, coach, that don't mean nothing if you're down 31-0 at halftime. Hey, I've had games where we're down 27-7 and we're 0-8. And I went into the locker room and I'm throwing garbage cans all over the place because the effort wasn't there like it was in the other games. And I'm like, man, where's the effort that I'm usually seeing? I can live with us getting beat. I can't live with us not trying. And the proudest moment I ever had as a coach is that game ended and we lost that game 34-27. and we were 6 inches short from tying the game up on the last play of the game. And I remember a lot of parents talking to me after the game. And I said, man, your kids are so awesome because there's just no quit in them. I didn't recognize who that group was at the first half. There was no reason for them to even come back in the second half. They're 0-8. We're down 27-0. Yet I challenged, who they were. They always gave me that effort. And, sometimes you just got to remind it, you're here because we wanted you here. You're an Aztec because we wanted you here. We recruited you. We're glad you didn't transfer out. You decided to stay because we believe in you. And, okay, we're having a rough season. Okay, but we still need you. What you bring to the package, what you bring to this team and this unit, you're still representing San Diego State. And these fans are going to come Saturday, and your parents and the relatives, they're going to still root you on as hard as they can, and they want to see something great from you. And here's another opportunity you have to do something great and do it with each other. Finish this thing strong. Finish it where something you can be proud of, and you never know. You might put something on tape or you'll watch it 25 years from now and still be proud of that moment where you don't even remember what the record was. It was just, wow, look at the effort. What a great play. Look at that block that guy made. Look at the call. And it matters. It absolutely matters. And for all the underclassmen, again, what are you going to learn from these next few games that you can take into spring where, Coach, we started doing this and I really liked it. I liked how we were sitting down and communicating, and I started seeing the field a little bit better. I started, noticing things that I didn't notice in the first half of the season. Those are the little things you got to make sure that you are checking those boxes off because it matters. Absolutely matters. And this Saturday matters. It should matter. And if it doesn't matter to you, then a coach has to recognize that. Teammates got to recognize that. And it's got to be brought up immediately, because this is important. This game isn't a boxing match, one-on-one. Nah, we're brothers, and we need to stick together to get this thing done and get it done the right way.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing we can – that's the biggest thing we can – from the outside looking in anyway, it appears that the guys don't quit on games. They're still going hard. Even in the fourth quarter, these games where they're down by a pretty large amount. I don't see a whole lot of, heads down and hands on their hips on the sidelines. I see guys still trying to play and play hard. So, whether they're giving the maximum effort or not, we don't know because we're not there with them every day in practice. But from the outside looking in, it appears that they're still, playing their tails off. They're just, not quite ready yet. They're not quite putting things together, like you said, whether the communication is not there or just not everything's clicking correctly. But at least the effort is still there. And I think that's one thing you can take away is it still appears that the effort is still there on the guys. And I think that's all you can ask for at this point in the season.
Yeah, and you really want to make sure as a coach, what are we good at? And that might not be too many things at this moment, but again, it's just kids buy in when they see victories, when they see success, when they have a successful drive. And it's easy to get buy-in on that one. And, there's a lot of good coaches that have winning programs, but you really don't know how good a coach is until they have a rough year. Can they manage the storm? And players have to do the same thing. And it's been my experience, the best way to manage a storm is just to make sure that the communication is constant and see if that communication led to better execution, because that's really where it comes down to. It's all about the execution. That is the bottom line. If we're not executing, and that's what every fan, that's what every player and every coach would admit to right now, we're not executing like we need to execute. And UNLV, congratulations. You've really turned this program around. This should not have been a game where we felt like we had no shot on it. We're San Diego State. We've owned this conference for a long time. It's been us in Boise State. And, okay, we got a new up-and-comer in UNLV. We got to make them earn it. You're not welcome to this until we give the okay, and you can't lay down. Our boys didn't lay down like you said, but when you're losing games,
yeah,
that is a cancerous feeling. It's hard to get rid of that, because it just seems to fester. And so there has to be some sense of urgency. Can we execute better? and in the red zone, on third downs, first downs? Can we execute in a manner where the coach can say, this is exactly what I pictured us doing, and how I, wanted us to do it. And the players starting to get on the same page, exactly what that vision is that Coach Lewis has, and if it ain't happening yet, all coaches will say, I got to fix it. Yeah. Yeah. We all got to fix, and I know I've been there. There goes my man. But, but that's what
He's
we're
so fired up. He's so fired up. He's firing up the mints out of your mouth to explode. Hey, man, I couldn't have said it any better because it's like, yeah, this is San Diego State. You're not used to going out like that against a UNLV team. Rebuild or not, the execution's not there. It's got to get there. Let's talk about Utah State, guys, because our next opponent, Utah State, on the road. The game is a Saturday night. Saturday night? Or are we looking at Saturday day? 1:30 p.m.
Oh, it's a day game.
It's a day game. So that's 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. We're looking at, what is this, a breakfast tailgate? Oh, man. In Logan, Utah. Both teams are 3-7. Both teams are 2-3 in the Mountain West. This game is very interesting, guys, especially in this situation. Now, you may be asking, how is this interesting, right? Two of the lower teams in the Mountain West this year. Utah State is playing with, well, they think they've named him as the head coach, but he was not the head coach to start the season. He was a coordinator. Utah State's head coach got into some funny business, legal trouble,
shenanigans,
whatever you want to call it. Shenanigans, perfect word for it. Shenanigans. He was fired before the season started, and it was like really close to the season starting. So, a very interesting situation for Utah State. The Aztecs, we have an amazing all-time record against Utah State. I think we've only lost to them maybe less than 13-4 all time. 13-4. So, rebuild or not, Utah State put up 55 against Hawaii last week. 55-10 they beat Hawaii.
I know. So, I lost money on that game.
Oh man, I mean, yeah, you don't expect them to blow them out of the water that much. Utah State's they've been explosive at times this year, but this is one of those games, Coach, where you're talking about like, this is not the San Diego State program we're used to seeing. That pride comes into play. The execution should be there. We are not playing a bottom tier team. We're not playing a top tier team like a Boise, like a UNLV. So this is one of those games where, okay, let's see if they can continue searching for this, as James said, perfect game or at least a complete game.
Yeah.
In Logan is never going to be easy, especially mid to late November. I don't know what the temperature is looking at, but Utah State is favored, 5-point favorites at home. James, you got any thoughts on this game, man? Because Nate Drayling, his first year as like an interim coach, and he's got this team playing better as the year's going on.
Yeah, they've been kind of up and down all year, but again, they're fully capable of beating us. So I definitely don't call this an easy win or a game we should win for sure. It's another coin flip game. Excuse me, unless the offense finally gives us that complete game and executes like Coach C was talking about. That's the only thing that can change. I think the defense can do well enough to slow them down where it's the offense has to show up and keep them off the field a little bit so they're not on the field the whole first half. So I think that's the biggest thing is I'd like to see a hot start by the offense. We haven't really seen that all year. So that would be kind of like the biggest thing I'm looking for on Saturday is the offense getting off to a hot start.
So they do have a pretty good scoring offense themselves. 30 points. We're averaging 21 points. They're scoring defense. They're letting up a lot of points. 39 points. We're letting up 28. So, the stats, all the details aren't there, right? The stats only tell you a certain side of the story. But the averages are kind of what they are at this point. They've got a graduate quarterback, Spencer Patras, I believe his name is. Who can sling it, when you got a graduate senior, he's experienced.
but the same thing, I have a couple questions when it comes to this game, guys. I mean, do you play this game as normal as you've been playing, as far as decision making, as far as personnel? Do you now start to, well, where bowl eligibility is gone, do you now treat these games any different, as far as personnel goes, as far as play calling goes, or are you still kind of locked in to figuring out and searching for, this offense, this defense? Are you playing? You're always playing to win, right? You're always playing to win, but are you also giving other players a chance, other seniors perhaps, or are you just locked into what you've been doing and kind of trusting the process that's got you to this point?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, more than anything, you got to make sure that whatever that spring goal was, that what is the end of the year going to look like as the new coaching staff came in and all that, you have to make sure you're meeting what that was supposed to look like, and so going into a road game like Logan, I used to have a cousin that lived there, cute little town. If you've never been to Logan, you got to go. It's just a cute town. The whole thing's the university.
Don't tell that to Mike or Fiend.
Yeah, it's a cute little town. I got lost there once, and funny story. But anyways, the whole thing is that, you got to make sure that what type of team did I envision this team to be, and you want to get on that plane when this game is over, telling the team that's exactly what I wanted it to look like, and that has to start this week. As this week has gone on, that we are, if we're going to run the ball, these are how we're going to run it, and we got to make them stop it. You don't want to get on that plane come Saturday night where you lost the game. You have to make them earn it. All right, you're going to get 30 points a game. Well, you haven't done that against us. You haven't done it against our defense. Stats mean nothing. It's about matchups, and literally, you just can't beat yourselves. You don't want to give nothing away. I think that's what's been kind of disheartening watching our team, is just that there's just little things that you're just kind of like, that could have went for 8 instead it went for 2, because we just didn't block it as well as we needed to. Or that tackle should have been a 3-yard gain rather than a 13-yard gain, and it's moving the chains. Don't let anything about this game be something that, it's a woulda, coulda, shoulda on our part. If they end up just playing better than us and we play to our optimum level, great, you can live with that. But as a coaching staff, what you really need to sell is that, listen, we got to be high tempo, but we got to execute everything we do, whether it be a 3-step, play action, or continue to do what we've been doing kind of nice all year, is getting some deep shots, winning some deep shots, winning those one-on-ones and all that. That's starting to become a little bit of an identity with this team. One, because O'Neal does throws a nice moon ball. I mean, that thing goes way up there. Sometimes he needs to throw it a little bit more direct. But the bottom line is that, you discover certain things. But you definitely got to come out of this road game where you felt like you physically instilled your will, and you were able to do exactly what you wanted. Because as a coaching staff that's in their first year, they have to be going into spring with some building blocks based on, did we accomplish as a coaching staff what we needed to establish as our foundation to move on to this next season? If not, then it's just, okay, we're playing discovery mode again. And it's like, all right, we got lucky on that one. Or a win's a win. That's the best thing that can happen. But you got to do everything you can to win this football game, period. You just got to. And if it means playing a lot of your starters even more, because if you could get a big lead, now you can just go ahead and throw some extra guys in there or whatever else. But right now, as a new staff, it's just imperative. It is just so important that you get this ugly taste of losing out of your mouth. We don't like Utah State just as much as we don't like UNLV, just as much as we don't like Boise State. We don't like none of these guys. None of it. Pretty area, great. We don't like you. We're San Diego State, and we have had a reputation these last decade of being physical. And we got to get to that point where we get those kind of dubs again. And this is going to be a great November game if they can get it done, where you get your opportunity where, you will steal your will on these guys. And so there really has to be a sense of urgency, I think, with this coaching staff. The last thing you need to do is give the impression to the team, we're going to just let these guys play. You don't want to give the impression that this is something that we're okay with status quo of what it's been looking like these last few weeks. You can't let that settle in. Not at all. It's never okay. Not for San Diego State.
It feels like in many. Go ahead, James. Go ahead.
To Coach C's point, no, you don't make any drastic changes to the roster unless there were moves you were thinking about making anyway. Because it's more important to show that your system works leading into next season versus throwing new players in there and letting them see what they can do going into next season. You want to have something to put on tape to show, like, look, the guys that are coming back, the guys we had here last year successfully did this, and we had success, and this is what we're going to put on tape. This is what we're going to show you in the spring. You got to show them that your system works with the guys on the team. And I don't think this is the time where you experiment. It would be different if it was the second year in the coaching staff and the season's done. All right, there's plenty of tape of us running our offense, running the system, running the defense. Then you can like experiment in a bad season, throwing some freshmen in there, seeing what they can do. But this staff has to prove to these players, like, this system will work if you do what we tell you, or if you communicate to us, like Coach C said, things we can do differently. But they have to get it on tape so they can build on that next year. It's more important to have some success with the guys here versus putting some new kids in there and getting them playing time.
Well said.
All right.
And I can't, to piggyback on that, guys, I can't tell you how important it is to show, here's this play not being executed the way we want it, and here's the play being executed the way we want it. This is how we run power versus this front. This is how we run zone read versus this front. This is how we execute the RPO versus this look. And it just has to show on tape, just like James says. That tape is so, so important. It can't be all Kent State film, Colorado film. It's got to be the red and black guys doing it well and getting to the point where, and then you make your wrinkles from there. Good film is just so, so important. And for this coaching staff, because they know they're coming back. I mean, as far as the main guys. And so that's important. This is a big game. Don't cast the records. This is a big game for all those involved and that know they're going to be here next year for sure.
Guys, I think we covered a lot of things that we've been wanting to cover, kind of leading up to this point. But until we got out of bowl eligibility, it's like, okay, now we can kind of talk about this next step, these final two games, this next phase of the season. Okay, what are you looking forward to now? What do you play for now? So thank you guys for filling in on that. I think we got a lot of topics we can still address, I think, at the end of the season and kind of see how these last two games go, how they are decided. Then it opens up, I think, to me, it opens up a lot more topics. But we got to see how things go, Either
Definitely.
way, Coach C, thank you for joining us, man. We'll bring you back in another time. Hopefully, hopefully we'll have some better news on both the Aztecs and the Raiders front for you, and get you a little less motivational and just a little more happy.
Yeah, where I'm not spitting out mints from my mouth and just crazy.
We'll see you next time, dude. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good seeing you, James. All right, Matt. We'll get to talk to you guys later.
All right, there you have it, Coach C. Always a good guy to come in and kind of get into detail on all this stuff. James, it's gonna be an interesting one on Saturday, dude. We got Utah State, then we got Air Force at home, November 30th, the final game of the season. Final game for a lot of seniors. We'll get to that one. We gotta get this win against Utah State, man. Coach C said it best, dude. I can't stand these guys. We can't lose to these guys.
I'm looking forward to watching it, man. I'm excited. I'm still excited to see this team play every week, man. So, it's going to be fun. We'll see what happens. It's unfortunate we've had this downturn started before the staff got here. Hopefully this will be the beginning of maybe we'll start to turn the corner and start climbing those stairs back upwards again.
Hey man, when you have a clear mind of what the process is on this thing, okay, it'll make you come back next week and watch. Okay, what are they gonna do this week? What are they gonna do this week? Because boy, the fan base is impatient. That's a simple way of putting it. Guys, thank you for joining the stream. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We've been here all season long talking football. That's right. Talking football. Oh, man. Thank you, Angelica. A satisfying analyst. That is what Coach C is. Absolutely. And of course, James breaking it down. Keeping that power of positivity somehow.
Yeah,
bowl
it's
game.
tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah.
I wanted that Snoop Dogg bowl, man.
I know. The beginning of the year, you wanted that gin and juice bowl. Hey, I'll tell you what. I was about to rock my SDSU beanie. Remember when we used to get really excited about the potato bowl days,
man.
bro? The famous potato bowl, 2013, bro, right here. Not even gonna get the potato bowl this year, dude.
It's all right. Maybe next year, man. It'll be the start of another run.
I don't want that potato bowl anyways, though, man. Get that out of here. Thank you guys for joining. We're gonna wrap things up. Thank you guys for joining all season long. Once again, we look forward to continued coverage, good or bad, win or lose. Of course, make sure you guys are checking out the basketball episode we did last night, talking hoops. A lot of things going on the Mesa, and looking forward to all of it. All right, James, thank you for your time, man. I know you're. It's time to go hit the bed, man. It's sleepy.
Oh yeah, I'm beat, man. I'm beat. I'm sorry we missed out last week, man. I couldn't talk without coughing. So yeah, we'll make it up. We'll do like an extra one during the off season or something like that.
Oh yeah,
missing out on that one.
There's gonna be plenty more issues to talk about, no matter how the season ends. So, all right, everybody, have a great night. We'll see you guys after the big game on Saturday. San Diego State, Utah State. SonsOfMontezuma.com. Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs.